You can buy a Quest 2 for as little as $250. That's half the price of a Quest 3. But for most people, you shouldn't even consider it. This video is going to cover my thoughts about why the Quest 2 is a bad VR headset to buy right now and compare it to the Quest 3. I'm Andrew from VR Lowdown, and let's get started. So the Quest 2 has been out for 3 years now. It's been a great VR headset, and it's still the most popular standalone VR headset in the world. When it was released, it was groundbreaking. It was the first truly viable standalone headset where the technology didn't stand in the way of your enjoyment. The technology had matured to a level where you could really enjoy VR experiences without having fuzzy visuals or a really bad field of view or other compromises that really detracted from the experience. But like with any new, rapidly advancing technology, 3 years is a long time. And the Quest 3, which was released in October 2023, improves on almost every aspect of the Quest 2. It's got higher resolution panels, it's got better lenses, it's got a larger FOV, it's got a better form factor, it's slimmer, it's slightly more comfortable. It's just better in every way. But it's twice the price. I appreciate that finances are tight for a lot of people and $500 is a lot of money. So maybe there is a case for buying a Quest 2 and just accepting that you're getting a lesser headset. Well, I would argue no. If you're in that category, I would advise you just hold off. Don't ruin your first experience of VR by buying an obsolete headset. The same thing happened to me. I've been fascinated by VR for about the last 10 years. Hence why I run a website all about VR and have this YouTube channel. I love it. I've got loads of VR headsets and I just think it's amazing. But I didn't actually get a VR headset until about 7 years ago. And the reason for this was I couldn't afford one. I just couldn't justify the cost. Back then you needed a powerful VR ready PC and an expensive PC VR headset. And the total cost was thousands of pounds for me. And there was just no way I could afford that. So what I could have done was I could have gone and got a Google Cardboard or a Gear VR and tried VR, but I resisted. I didn't get one of these because I read the reviews and they were mediocre and I didn't want to ruin my first experience of VR by trying something substandard. So I suppose my recommendation to you is coming from my own experience of resisting the temptation to try something inferior and holding off until a time that you can afford a really good VR headset. So let's move on to compare some of the specifications of the Quest 3 and the Quest 2, just to explain why I think that the Quest 3 is the only realistic option that you should be considering. Let's start with the visuals. There are multiple aspects of the visuals of the Quest 3 that are a big upgrade from the Quest 2. Firstly, the display panels, or rather in the Quest 2's situation, the display panel, because of course it only uses one display panel, which is a substandard approach compared to the Quest 3, which uses one display panel for each eye. The resolution of each display panel in the Quest 3 is 2064 by 2208, and this compares to the Quest 2, which has a resolution of 1832 by 1920 per eye. Now, this doesn't sound like a big difference. It's a slight upgrade for the Quest 3, but the difference comes because with one panel, the headset cannot make use of all the pixels on the display at the same time. A much higher percentage of the pixels can be seen on the Quest 3, and this actually leads to an increase in visible resolution of about 30%. This does make a huge difference, particularly when you're trying to view small objects at distance, or when you're trying to read text on a screen in a game, or even when you're trying to do like productivity tasks in your Quest 3. In the Quest 2, it's barely usable. It's not a great experience. Coupled with this, there's a different lens technology in the Quest 3 compared to the Quest 2. The Quest 3 uses pancake lenses, whereas the Quest 2 uses Fresnel lenses. Fresnel lenses have a lot of advantages, but they do have concentric ridges or concentric rings in them that create visual artifacts called God rays that are particularly noticeable when you look at something bright on a dark background. You get this bloom effect and rings that appear, and it is noticeable, and it does detract from the quality of the visuals. The pancake lenses in the Quest 3 are exquisite. They are so clear, and the other difference with the pancake lenses is that they are clear in the middle of the lenses, but they are also clear almost the entire way out to the edges of the lenses, whereas the Fresnel lenses of the Quest 2, yes, it's reasonably clear in the very center of your vision, but as you start to look to your peripheries, it actually gets pretty blurry. So the pancake lenses are a much better option. I wouldn't go back to Fresnel lenses. They were great for the time, but for me, the future is pancake. The other really important thing to mention is that you should press the like button if you're enjoying this video and consider subscribing to the channel. The other big improvement with the Quest 3 is with the field of view, or FOV. The horizontal FOV of the Quest 3 is about 110 degrees versus about 97 degrees for the Quest 2. Yes, it's only an improvement of 13 degrees in the FOV, but it feels much freer, much more open, and it's a much more immersive experience. So all in all, the visuals of the Quest 3 are just so much better. And of course, coupled to that, the processor in the Quest 3 is about twice as powerful as the Quest 2 processor. They both use Qualcomm Snapdragon processors, but the Quest 3 uses the XR2 version and the Quest 2 uses the XR1 version, and there's about a doubling in processing power when moving from the XR1 to the XR2. As a result, a lot of the games that are available on the Quest Store have had graphical updates, either to the resolution, the textures, or just other aspects of the graphics to make them look better on the Quest 3. This is really very noticeable in quite a number of games. Games like The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners look so much better on the Quest 3 compared to the Quest 2. Golf Plus, one of my favorites, also had a huge graphical update, and it's really very much appreciated. The other thing about the Quest 3 that's really awesome and kind of took me by surprise is the mixed reality content. So the Quest 3 has two front-facing, high-resolution RGB cameras and a depth sensor, and these allow you to have full color pass-through, and the headset can actually detect depth and objects in your room and integrate them into your games. The Quest 2, on the other hand, only has grayscale pass-through, and this is terrible quality. This was really only in the headset for controller tracking, and it was after launch that they started using it for some mixed reality capabilities and hand tracking. And it's awesome. It was really great that they were able to do it with the Quest 2, but comparing it now with the full color pass-through of the Quest 3, they're light years apart. In terms of the form factor, the Quest 3 does make significant improvements over the Quest 2. It is slimmer. It is, I think, better looking. It's not actually lighter. It's actually a couple of grams heavier than the Quest 2, but because it's slimmer, it sits closer to your face. So whenever you're moving around, there's less inertia, less momentum of the headset. So it actually feels lighter on your face. Both the Quest 3 and the Quest 2 come with fabric head straps, and this is a disgrace. They are rubbish. The fabric head straps are completely inadequate. They're not very comfortable. They don't hold the headset on your face desperately well, and you shouldn't use it unless you absolutely have to. If you get either of these headsets, I would strongly recommend that you pick up some form of third-party rigid head strap. There are loads of options available, and they're actually usually very affordable. The other thing worth mentioning is the battery life of both of these headsets. It's not great on either headset. You get about 2 hours. As you can see, with both of these headsets, I've gone for the official Elite battery strap for 2 reasons. Number 1, to get away from the horrible fabric head strap, but number 2, because the Elite battery straps pretty much double the battery life of the headset. So it brings the battery life up to about 4 hours for both of these headsets, which is pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. So bottom line, if you're looking to buy your first VR headset, buy a Quest 3. it is unequivocally the best standalone VR headset available today. Don't be tempted to save a few bucks buying a Quest 2. If you can't afford a Quest 3, my advice would be hold off. You can either buy a Quest 3 later down the line, or 2024 comes along, there might be an even better headset coming out and you can go for that one instead. Now, if you've already got a Quest 2 and you're thinking about an upgrade to the Quest 3, that's a slightly more nuanced decision, because the Quest 2 really is a very, very good headset. It does everything really well, and essentially the Quest 3 just does everything better. Yes, it has mixed reality support, and the mixed reality experiences are actually surprisingly entertaining, but are you getting that much extra? I would say if you use your Quest 2 on a regular basis and you love VR, the upgrade is totally worth it. It is brilliant. I mean, since I got my Quest 3 at launch, I have used it every day. My Quest 2 has been gathering dust on my shelf. Occasionally, I've gone back to the Quest 2 to try it just for fun, and I can't last more than 5 minutes. It is so bad compared to the Quest 3. And, you know, it really is. The Quest 3 is just so much better. And if you love VR, then definitely put it on your upgrade list. You know, it is a big jump up. So you know what I think now? I think the Quest 2's had its time. I think, yes, $250 is a compelling proposition for a headset that has been the market leader for the last 3 years, but it's now obsolete, okay? So my advice would be don't be tempted to get a Quest 2. Either hold off and don't get any VR headset, or go for the Quest 3. It really is a wonderful VR headset. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. I really appreciate the time that you've taken to listen to me talking about these headsets. And I appreciate any feedback you have for me. Please leave it in the comments below. I read all the comments and I try to reply to as many as I can. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.